diverse cultures, are you willing to make sacrifices in personal or corporate gain to achieve a greater vision? Do you see the world as a blank canvas waiting for your creativity and potential to expressed? The mindset is about choosing authentic engagement with others in a way that provides hope for the future. I believe we are in the very early stages of harnessing the ways in which entrepreneurship can be applied to global problems. It requires partnering between corporations, startups, communities, governments, nonprofits, universities, and a multitude of organizations. With the insights of Gorillas Can Dance, we now have a roadmap to help. As Shameen concludes, who knows? Perhaps working together may become so commonplace that a time will come when not many will need to be reminded of its potential or even schooled in the nuances of the process. David Cohen, co-founder and chairman, Techstars. Preface. One of the best decisions I've ever made was to muster up the courage to ask the late Professor C.K. Prahalad, a respected strategy professor at Michigan University, a question at the 2006 Academy of Management Conference in Atlanta. I explained to him that I had begun researching how startups were partnering with large corporations. I was curious to know if he thought that this was a promising phenomenon or just a passing fad. His response was unequivocal. Startups must learn to dance with the large gorillas. Thus came the phrase, dancing with gorillas, into my life. I kept following this phenomenon. Microsoft proved to be a particularly fascinating example, and I was fortunate to be able to study its startup partnering activities as an independent academic. I was able to make observations over an extended period of time, a decade and a half, and across several locations including China, India, Israel, Kenya, the UK, the United States, and South Africa, among others. Importantly, corporate startup partnering was part of that company's organizational transformation. There were several other companies that I studied too. Initially, the cases I came across resulted from ad hoc activities and happy accidents. Eventually, spurred by the growing ubiquity of digitalization, more systematic and deliberate efforts were made, initially by technology companies and later by ones from traditional sectors like automotive, banking, and retail. In the process, a new notion was added to my lexicon: gorillas can dance. By observing the phenomenon of large corporations partnering with startups over time, I've been able to better understand that the capability to partner with a highly asymmetric organization takes time and effort. By taking a deliberately global perspective, I've been privileged to gain insight into how partnering practices are adapted to and adopted from different contexts. Corporate startup partnering has become an integral part of corporate innovation, reflecting a greater openness in companies' efforts to innovate. And while there are other ways of engaging with corporate innovation, including entrepreneurship and corporate venture capital, the fundamentals of the partnering perspective that this book deals with offer a useful perspective that is relevant to be incorporated in those other efforts. This book shares some of the lessons I observed in the corporations that partner effectively with startups. It is written for the gorillas, the large corporations seeking to make their partnering efforts more effective. A key lesson for managers is that partnering with startups is great on paper, but not easy to do. An important insight that I got as I studied many companies is what I call the paradox of asymmetry. That is, corporates and startups seemed to be attracted to each because they were hugely different and had things that the other wanted. Yet these very differences, or asymmetries, were what got in the way of effective partnering. This helped me better understand what distinguished corporates that were more effective than others in partnering with startups. They make deliberate efforts at overcoming the downsides of asymmetry while tapping the upside. Thus, partnering with startups sounds like a great idea on paper for large corporations. Making it work, however, is not so simple. The book opens with an account of Microsoft and culminates with an outline of the book's 6 chapters, with 2 each in 3 parts: why, how, and where. Each part highlights an important mindset: entrepreneurial, collaborative.